I'm glad the turnout for this has been mostly memes and jokes as opposed to very serious discussion posts. And I'm sure all of that will come. In fact, there are people still discussing this in a serious manner, but I want to talk about Persona 5X's story, as I've only really made very brief general statements about it due to the fact I was playing with an auto-translator. So first up on the block is memes aside, this arc is a little misguided. I think there are a lot of problems here. People talk about Kuchi being kind of a parallel to Kamoshida, and they're not wrong. From the laser focus on one of your female party members to her friend becoming a victim in her place, the sports influence of the character's background, the very obvious boss design, there's a lot more, but Kuchi is very inspired by Kamoshida, to the point where you can't even look away from the fact that he is. And the issue with that is Kamoshida is probably one of the most detestable villains in Persona 5. Kuchi, on the other hand, lacks good substance to be interesting. The first problem is that it really only shows him shoulder-tackling women, and kind of hopes that you'll absorb the full message of what this is. And I understand that it kind of is more of a Japanese problem, so it's a little harder to get invested in, but because of that, it feels like this needs to be explained a little bit more. I've seen people break down online why this is a form of both harassment and sexual harassment. It doesn't take a genius to fully understand that once you get it explained to you, but the way it's presented in the game just feels kind of comical. And the whole scene where Tomoko flies over the railing that's a Looney Tunes scene.
I saw a guy do this in a toothpaste ad once. Ta-da!
I can suspend my disbelief for a lot of things, but this? How? Like, she flies like she's 10 pounds. And sure, Kuchi is supposed to be still physically fit, but they really cover that up under his suit. Like, he looks like an average Japanese salaryman. And I don't know if that's purposeful or not, but I don't think he could really tackle a teenager and send them flying over a railing of a Japanese subway station. I mean, if you look at these things in real life, they're not low. And even in that cutscene, it's not low. They're literally built to stop people from going over them. But to get to more of the meat and bones of the arc, Kuchi's arc really just reveals him as a horribly pathetic person, because at some point you just have to start asking, why are you so depressed over this, man? Is it because some 8-year-old caught your all-star pitch? Get over yourself, dude. For all you know, it could be a fluke, and even if she does it multiple times, great, she's a prodigy. You can, take her under your wing and teach her. Dude got depressed because an 8-year-old caught his pitch. He's like the guy from Balan Wonderworld that lost one chess match and spiraled into being a villain. Feels like Kuchi is the child, and it doesn't set up a very interesting villain arc for a character. And really, some of the presentation issues just turn the story into a comedy. This is probably one of the worst arcs in a Persona 5 game. It might be the worst in terms of quality. In terms of jokes, it's great, but the quality of this arc is just not very good. On top of that, the number of parallels there are to Kamoshida's arc, it really just, it doesn't land. It's like two entirely different things at this point. It feels like the cheap copy, and that's a little disappointing. But hey, at least it spawned a fantastic meme. Content man, content plan. It's time to talk about Miyazawa, the antagonist of the second arc of the game. This arc is a mile ahead of the last, and that's really not saying much. That being said, Miyazawa is definitely a bad person, actively using his online influence to force restaurants to sign their rights over to him. It sucks, and I feel like this arc gets better into the personal connection to your party member. In a weird way, Kuchi's doesn't really resonate with me that much. At least in this, the focus is on Shun, and Shun's entire story revolves around this ramen shop, and that makes it a lot more personal. But I still feel like this arc does not have the sauce, as they say. I wouldn't call it bad, just I don't resonate that much with it. Ironically enough, it feels like Miyazawa just isn't that special, which in some way is kind of the point. And I think a lot of the community has brought up that both this and Kuchi feel like they would have been Mementos requests in P5, and I kind of want to get into that a little bit separately. I know I didn't break down Miyazawa that much here, but honestly, there isn't that much to be said. He's okay, it's better than the last arc, but I don't know what more you want me to say about him at this point.
That's why we must delve deep into Mementos and...
So to the fact that these feel like Mementos requests, I would like to make note that so far both palaces are specifically accessible via Mementos. That could be a simple way of making a centralized hub for the metaverse activities, but it is very interesting that the palaces in P5, with the exception of Yaldabaoth's, are accessed by going to the actual location, versus this game where all the palaces are in Mementos. Even after you beat them and you're going back, they are represented still in Mementos. Now, that's no excuse for the presentation issues that the game has had so far with its antagonists, but it could serve to be potentially related to the reason why these situations are typically less severe. I don't know how much attention to detail is really going into that part of the design, whether that's purposeful or not, because obviously there are a lot of reused assets from P5, and this is just an easy way to make things accessible within the game. Again, I find it very curious the way it's presented that both of these palaces are directly connected to Mementos, though.
The future.
So I think P5X's existing story arcs are fine. I think if you can find the fun in them, that's a lot better than taking them too seriously. They don't come super close to what you'd expect from a Persona game. I think Miyazawa is okay. It's on like the middle end of like Persona writing. It's not great, but it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. But to be honest, Kuchi's arc is probably pretty disappointing. I wasn't even sure who was writing the game until recently, and even then, I'm still not entirely sure. I didn't play a ton past this point on the Korean server, but I do think that as far as I did play, the story does get better. For those of you who are still interested, I hope this encourages you to stick around. That said, I've only played that version of the game with an auto-translator, so I suggest you look for people who actually know Chinese or Korean to tell you that it is good. And with that, I'd like to mourn the loss of the abysmally hilarious translations that the auto-translator gave me. So, let's go through some of those here. It's smoke to pound up the butt. Besides, it's pleasant to pound your ass. It would have been quite cracked to his pride. We love a good Persona butt crack joke, because they just do these in every game, I guess. The goo is starting to get sweet. What did you mean by this? Looks like there's a special shadow in front of it. If I'm not mistaken, you're a weirdo. I don't think you get to say that, Luful. You're kind of freaky yourself. I, Juan, am going to be one hell of a gangster. But that doesn't solve the problem of him changing the flavor of the asshole and taking over the whole store. This one that I'm not going to read out loud. Keep quiet. No phone, no fart, no scream. By the way, John, can you blow me a hoo-hoo? Because I don't like hot things. This one actually isn't that bad, all things considered. I must have inhaled a dog's breakfast. Your intuition is pretty accurate, and if it wasn't, you'd have done better. Great. So, fist or balls? The game randomly translating dog in some areas. Don't know what's up with that. And finally, my personal favorite. Concourse hippopotamus. Then let's eat egg rolls. So yeah, if you didn't understand what I mean when I say that things get lost in context, here it is. Most of these, you can kind of interpret what they're saying if you've picked up on the auto-translator's issues, but again, it does present the problem of whole lines just not being translated properly. But all that aside, you can let me know what you think of Persona 5 The Phantom X in the comments down below. As always, you can leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel for more things Persona, Atlas, and JRPG related. I've got a few more P5X related videos that I kinda want to get out. We'll see if they all make it to fruition, and I was hoping to have some other content to present, maybe about Code Vein or Tales Remaster, but it seems like that Bandai presentation was a giant nothing burger. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
クライマックス行ってみましょう。
捨てない。